XSET plays on it. So speculation is currently just running wild. Let's get started to our second matchup of the day here. XSET versus TSM. TSM will ban first because they're going to be starting on defense. And old Thatchy boy. People, they love to hate you, man. Say good riddance to him. We got to see him in map 1. We're not going to see him in the second matchup.
Oh, boy. Look at that. Thatcher into a Maverick ban. You do not see that very often. And when you do, you know it's going to be a terrible map. Now, it's going to be Kali who has to open up the wall or assist in opening up the wall. And that's really frustrating because there's not a lot of good places to play Kali on this map. If you bring Kali for top floor, I mean, you're rocking a hard place. The wall denial is going to be very important here. And no Valkyrie ban on Cafe. Oh, boy. This is shaping up to be, number one, very defender-sided, and number two, very uncomfortable to play. Cafe can be absolutely horrendous when you get bans like these.
This is going to be a wild one. I was already expecting a wild matchup between these teams, but now it's going to be even wilder. I don't know what official term you're going to go when you know things are going to get even more wild, but here we are. And it's a reading fireplace start for TSM. Now, the top floor of Cafe, the double cocktail bomb site, was for a long period of time widely considered to be the most defendable and was also the favored bomb site for most teams. Slowly but surely that changed and it went down to kitchen and bakery, or what is I guess now just double kitchen bomb sites. Old habits die hard with the old bomb site being in the bakery. And for anybody that played Cafe pre-rework, you'll be very well aware of that and how untenable that bomb site was for the defenders. But this bomb site in particular, along with the other bomb site, which shares that dining area bomb site, it's referred to as fireplace officially. Most people just refer to it as dining. The other one is over in train, or engine as it's often called. The community likes to change up the callouts, so follow along if you can. Those tend to be the other two bomb sites outside of kitchen down below. We don't really see the top floor that much. Seldom played because teams like to leave it as a bit of a buffer. And you can see exactly here. This is going to be TSM investing so heavily on the top floor. They've got most of their reinforcements up top. Mute jammers, Goyo shields, ADSs. And I'm sure there's a Banshee or two up there as well. Don't get too disoriented as we fly around the map.
Whee!
This is going to present quite an interesting challenge for XSET. If they can cleave through this very quickly, if they can just slice and dice through these defenses, it's not going to leave TSM with too much left on the bomb site.
I like the setup from TSM. Very thorough. They were extremely quick to get their reinforcements, their castles, and their mutes and everything down. They clearly have a, setup strategy for this hold, given the current bans. And that bodes well for TSM. It's a good sign. Well, so far, no real action here. You always see in Cafe the first minute or so go really slowly. Geo is doing a shuffle inside a cocktail. Hopefully he doesn't disconnect, but we'll see. Stun's going in to clear out the ADS, and the nade will follow up to destroy the shuttle. And Geo's gone, but he crashed before he died. So I want that to go on the record. Geo died because he was mid-crash. So yeah, they did get the kill, but I mean, it was an unearned kill, I guess.
I mean, technically, XSET is credited with that very first kill. So, I mean, put it down. There you go. Siege GG. You know that XSET got the first kill.
He was already crashed. He was already crashed, Parker.
On a technicality, Merc playing very close to the bathroom, as in the previous matchup, he'd had some issues with his stomach and wasn't feeling super well, so good spot for him to play in. A bit of a counter punch from TSM will land onto Butters. Down goes the Sledge, who was the person who'd gotten the kill onto Geo. Bolo decides to swing onto Thomas, playing outside in the AC unit, and, well, Bolo will only last about a minute and a half, because now XSET has once again gained another advantage. They take out Bolo on white stairs. Creators, hello. You might want to check Freezer. Merc gets one, but Drip, trying to avenge his previous performance, will find another kill. And once again, XSET back on top in numbers.
Achieved. What?
Look at that. Look at that.
Oh, yeah, he's running my charm.
That's your charm.
It's neato. Thanks, Chief. Chief playing bottom of white stairs. He's trying to get his man count back. Chal is shooting drones for him. So Chief is trying to spring out because when you're a man down, you can't just leave it a man down. Even with 30 seconds left, there's still plenty of time for XSET to execute onto the site. So Chief is going to try his very best to get a frag back in a position that he's not expected to be playing. Drops into Laundry. Chala will get one. Shotgun out for the second, but he sprints. That's ill-advised, and it's going to be a double piece for Thomas to clear up that round. XSET take the very first.
That's a big round, and once again, a little bit of mistakes there from TSM, and I can't necessarily fault them for it, because when you get put in a position where one of your players crashes, as Gio did, you have to take chances. You noted it yourself. If you find yourself in a 3v5, a 2v5, you don't necessarily have an option to just sit and wait. You can't bide your time, because you're going to get narrowed down and you're going to get pounced upon. You have to make risky plays. So TSM are a team that are often capable of making those plays. They're talented. All 5 of them can easily carry a game. All 5 of them have pulled off miraculous plays in the past. But XSET were there to capitalize, and it's a good first round from XSET, frankly, even though it wasn't necessarily under the greatest circumstances for TSM.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate that Gio crashed there, but it is what it is. We were already into the round at that point. It was pretty deep, so I'm not sure it would have changed the result even if he hadn't died right after he crashed. Either way, XSET with a decent execution there. They made some mistakes at the same time, though. And that you run the risk of falling victim to those when you're in an actual 5v5. A couple mistakes also being made from TSM as well, specifically at the end. That could have been an easy clutch up, to be honest. You have the shotgun out, you're holding the laundry door, just don't sprint. Just hold the gun out. I've made that mistake before. Everyone has. That's a really common one in Siege. Most often when you're in a situation where there's only 5 seconds, 10 seconds left, the best thing you could do is keep your gun up. Don't let the enemy see you in a position where you're not going to be able to fight back, and that is obviously mid-sprint. Some people, I've actually known professional players who have to unbind their sprint key to practice not sprinting in those situations. No joke. I've known that to happen.
I mean, if Chala hadn't sprinted, all he needs to do is hold the doorway with a shotgun. He wins that.
Yeah,
he wins that duel. He doesn't die. You've still got Achieved in that powerful position on White Stairs as well. And TSM is in great spot to just ride out the rest of the round. These small mistakes, and we saw them from TSM in that matchup. We saw them commit an abundance of mistakes against Beast Coast. And you know what? I would be kind of annoyed if I was the players on Beast Coast, because you don't want the story of that matchup being how much your opponents sucked versus how good you were. But the problem was that TSM stunk in that matchup. And obviously, you have to give some credit and some praise to Beast Coast for how they played around it. But that was not TSM playing anywhere near the potential that we know they're capable of. And if they keep committing small mistakes, they're going to get punished for them. We're not in the old days of the old NA Pro League 4-3 2 years ago, where there was always 2 to 3 teams that were just bottom feeders that frankly almost never competed near the top. We are as close to parity as I would argue the NA League ever has been, and the results back last week should be the starting point towards a very credible argument that all of these teams are capable of competing week in, week out. Now, there will obviously be weak teams. We don't know who they'll be just yet. It's entirely possible that TSM is one of those teams. But based upon what we've seen from them over the last couple seasons, this is not a squad that should be getting pushed around by either Beast Coast or XSET based upon their experience and based upon the pedigree that we know of TSM.
No, I wholeheartely agree. I do think that I personally have not jumped on the TSM train just yet. I'm waiting to see them prove themselves a little bit more. For those of you wondering what's going on, the admin was checking some things, so there's something going on. We're waiting for that to be cleared up. It looks like it may have just been, but either way, admin was just doing a double take on something before we actually started the match. We might have an admin call here that might change some things. We're waiting for, yeah, actually, I can confirm now. The admin has made a call. We will be replaying the round, it seems.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, well, technically, Gio did disconnect before the nade killed him. Like, I can confirm. We saw him do the disconnect moonwalk. He 100% was not in the lobby. Even saw a text message come out in the chat before the grenade ended up finishing him off. So I guess the rulebook somehow is going to put us in a position where the admin calls a rehost for that round and we go back to 0-0.
Well, for TSM, I mean, those little mistakes I guess they don't really matter right now at this point. You're going to be quite happy with that result. And I mean, maybe TSM were expecting the round to be replayed anyway, which could explain some of their behavior. I mean, that's the hopeful result here, by the way. If you're a fan of TSM, you are very much hoping that those mistakes that were committed were not just simply amateurish mistakes, but instead were committed because they knew the round was going to be replayed. And we've seen this before where teams are aware that things are going to change or that the round doesn't matter, and they will just do some funny things because they know that they can afford it. In that case, though, I mean, let's focus a little bit on how XSET played off of that. They never let up the gas. They themselves committed some mistakes, too. I mean, the big one was Creators playing at the top of White Stairs. He gets spotted inside a bar. Nobody droned out Merc playing in that position. And if it wasn't for Drip having a good shot on him, that very easily could have ended any chances of XSET coming back on that round, because Thomas would not have been able to patrol that hatch above, drop into Laundry and get the final 2 kills if you've still got Merc playing up there. That's a contested spot that you're going to have to fight for. So, I mean, XSET committed some mistakes too, even though they ended up winning the round. Maybe we're sleeping on them. I don't know.
You know, Parker, I mean, it was a good execution overall. I like their assertiveness with the positioning. And it looks like, you know, one thing I got to say, I talked about the mental for XSET and it being a problem in the past, and I do still think that their mental is probably their biggest flaw. We've seen them be in great positions before and let that just slip away unprompted, honestly. And, well, this time it's being taken away from XSET. They already won that round. According to the rules, apparently, the admin who made the call, that round is actually not going to be theirs. So how will they feel differently in this situation? Is this going to fire them up? I'm hopeful that it will. Knowing these players, I think XSET is going to have a fire lit under them, and I'm hopeful that going into these next few rounds, they're going to be even sharper.
Well, we don't need to go through the operator ban phase yet again. However, TSM is going to need to run the same lineup, and they're going to need to go to the same bomb site. So already that's going to give an upper hand to XSET because they know exactly where they're going to go, where they're going to have to attack, and they know the instruments and tools that TSM will be bringing to this fight. So that buys XSET a bunch of time. And think about how much discovery is usually done. You now have extra time to plan and strat around something that you already know the basis of. The one question I have is that teams don't need to emulate the entire setup from what I understand. And because of this, TSM are going to be free to put that utility elsewhere. And I have no doubt that that is going to be their plan, even though this bomb site doesn't tend to get played out all that differently by certain teams time and time again.
We saw. I think it's not different, this setup. It's not special what TSM is doing on this reading defense. It's slightly altered, but you can't call it different. The difference here is that it's an extension into backbar storage and freezer, and a castle barricade to facilitate that extension. So it's basically the same setup as what we always see here, done slightly different. And that's, I mean, it's not a deviation, really. It's just like, oh, this is how TSM wants to do it. It didn't work out last time, obviously, as we all saw, but that round is nullified. So second chance here for TSM.
Cross your fingers that nobody's going to die out early on so that we don't need to go through all that rigmarole yet again, though these things do happen. Also, major shout out to whoever's idea it was to lower the time between matchups. That is a really nice feature. That's a really nice change because we're right back into this one quite so quickly, and already XSET using some of their utility to pick away at others that are committed by TSM. Now they managed to take out the Goyo shield just as they did before. This time Geo is not AFK to perish to the flames, so though he takes some damage, he's still around, and XSET cannot enter so confidently knowing that they have the advantage they had last time.
Interesting stun there. I think it was just to check to see if there was an ADS or a flare or something along those lines. TSM are confirming that they want to control upstairs, but they're going to lose the first player upstairs. It's Merc and Cocktail to go down. And I think that TSM wants the refrag. They still seem to be trying to play off white, but that's such a dangerous position to play, and they'll actually eventually fall back.
Well, good start for XSET, and Merc obviously showed what he could do last time in this particular position. Now, you'd have to imagine that most of TSM have been pushed off of their spots upstairs, as XSET has control of that top floor, and indeed, TSM has scurried off of that hold and are now much safer in the bomb sites below. But two members of TSM lurk into the depths on that first floor, waiting ever so patiently. Unfortunately for Geo, the jig is up. He's been spotted out downstairs, and you know how dangerous it can be to try to ascend the stairs to get back to safety. Thomas flies a little bit too close to the sun. Bolo punishes him for it. Thomas was obviously a very critical playmaker in the previous round and was the person who had the kill for XSET in this one too.
Still, this round, there's a lot of time left for XSET to execute from above, and they've got the presence to do so. There's a sledge in play. There's breach charges all over. And with 35 seconds, they can make that vertical work for them. The one difference here is that there's not as many picks on TSM, so when they actually do go for the execution on the site, it looks like it's going to be a bit more of a brawl. That doesn't necessarily favor TSM, considering the control and positioning that we have for XSET, but Chala is going to make it favor them as they get the first kill in reading. Geo also add to it after Chala was refragged, and Filthy and Butters are out and alone now, isolated. Butters from above is going to have to drop the only attacker now, and he'll drop into the waiting arms of Geo.
What a difference that round was for TSM on the way that they played that. Far more conservative, far more cautiously than what we'd seen before. And I mean, obviously, you don't need to scramble and reposition after giving up a death early on. Additionally, the communication from XSET looked quite sound. They knew where Chala was playing by the sofa in reading, and it was very apparent that the drop was synced up with the player above of Butters to try to punish Chala. But Butters was about a second too late, and because of that, Chala's able to do quite a bit of damage to the drop players from XSET inside of Laundry. While this happens as well, because Chala's able to make that call after dealing that damage, TSM can then reposition themselves as well. As you saw Bolo get a little bit more aggressive by moving up inside of Dining from Fireplace. So ultimately, TSM reacts off of that, and just a half second too late from Butters is ultimately that very first push onto the domino that ends up knocking all of XSET down.
Speaking of down, it's going to be the bottom floor here for TSM as their secondary bomb site. They stuck to reading, so that wasn't an upset, unless the admin called, of course, that they had to repeat the first round, which is possible. Either way, they now know where they're most comfortable. TSM are looking pretty solid. The control that was established from TSM through that last round, or not established, the control that was retaken from XSET was really impressive. We often see defenders, when roaming, give up control and then never retake, never pressure. But that was not the case in the last round. I think that's what stood out most to me. XSET were constantly feeling the pressure of TSM. Oh, this is why you banned Valkyrie on this map, by the way.
Now, there have been a couple pros, by the way, who have suggested that Valkyrie cameras expire when they get thrown outside, and obviously that would disable that level of play. Regardless, it's still great intel for now. You've got the double Roni combo, and we actually talk a lot about how the Roni sees a lot of play on LAN, but not a lot of play necessarily online. I don't know if you want to dive into that just for a second here.
I mean, a big part of that is that going for a headshot on LAN is like way more important, and it's way more consistent as well. You're more likely for your bullet to actually register the way you want it to. Roni is a headshot or bust kind of gun, kind of like the MPX. That's, you know, why people bring it. And so, yeah, if you're going to be going for the headshot, you might want the best gun for it. Speaking of the R4C, what a weapon to take down Geo. Start off this round for XSET.
And Geo essentially dies for free because Achieved isn't in a position to refrag. He tried in vain, but wasn't aggressive enough. That's also because if he decided to push up, he would have gone toe-to-toe with Filthy. This is a bottom floor bomb site, by the way. So at some point, XSET, through these remaining 90 seconds, are going to have to work their way towards the bomb below. We'll see if they're able to do that. They're still on drone work, so more discovery being done from them. As you can hear, the L85 find Bolo, but not do anywhere near enough damage to kill him.
Lots of vertical potential here for XSET as they still have a sledge and breaching charges to use. Opening up above this site, it's going to be very dangerous for TSM in the site itself very soon here. They're going to need to send some players out of sight in order to either get the man advantage back or to you know, gain control somewhere else. Looks like XSET is shaping up for a bakery take. And luckily for TSM, they have full information on this. That's going to call out to Achieved, so he'll push up White. Chalo will also get Butters on a nice angle in sight, and things are looking better for TSM now.
And all because of that Valkyrie camera outside, not spotted. And it gives all the intel that TSM needs now to be able to capitalize off of this. And TSM will be able to push and pull their way through the remainder of this map. It's going to be tough for XSET to break into the bomb site. Now, they still have some utility. They've got flashes at their disposal, but there's a flank coming in from TSM. And I don't know if Merc's position at the bottom of Red Stairs has been spotted. XSET only have 15 seconds to pull this off. And they're going to be doing it largely blind. This is a tall task for them. They've got tons of fragging potential. It is a 4v4, but Merc starts off the festivities. Bolo in on it as well. They're going to be looking longingly towards Bakery, and XSET will scramble. But there's Thomas. He's on his own flank. Nobody sees it. He takes down one, but on time alone, XSET wastes way too much of it, and the clock hits 0, giving TSM the round.
Great round there from TSM. There was a glaring hole in their defense by Whiskey Bar that almost cost them in the end, with Thomas flanking in late. But because of how late the flank was from Thomas, it didn't end up mattering. Look at that. 3 seconds when Thomas hits the door. It's weird to look at the way that these rounds are being executed. XSET, very slow on their execution, missing some major points, and TSM, on the other hand, trying to go for some dangerous plays that almost end up costing them. It's weird, Parker. I'm not entirely sure who's playing better right now, to be frank, because we're seeing mistakes being made from both TSM and XSET. Yes, TSM has 2 rounds in a row. These rounds are very close, and they're both mostly because of time.
I mean, if XSET isn't a team that plays Cafe all that frequently, then this is bound to happen, right? I mean, we talked about it. We don't have a ton of intel on how XSET plays this map. If you are not the most comfortable on playing on this map, and you have to attack against a team that knows Cafe quite well, and is still a favorable map for defenders, then you're going to be in a rut. And I mean, TSM now finds themselves in a pretty decent position. I mean, they now need to go to a 3rd bomb site. They're going to go upstairs to Cocktail. This is typically a bomb site, like I said in round number 1. We don't see a ton of play here. But when we do see it, teams tend to be decently good at it as long as they don't get overrun very quickly. There isn't much of a buffer on this bomb site. If you lose that top floor, if you lose your foothold, the whole thing just crumbles, especially if you don't have an ability to retake, because the stairwells are held by a good team that has claymores, that has nomad, that has gridlock, etc. In this case, XSET's got a claymore, it's got a nomad as well, and it's got the first pick as well. Add to all those things. Achieved and Creators will tussle. Creators comes out on top. XSET, 3 rounds in a row, and they've got the opening pick in all 3 of those rounds.
And they've managed to lose 2 out of 3 of them. Are they going to go 3 for 3 is the question. Merc is looking to get the re as he's positioned himself on the middle floor, trying to challenge Creators. Having shot the drone, Creators is hesitating for his push. He's got Thomas coming from bottom white. There's the lifeline, Sun going out, trying to see if there's anyone there. Drone to follow it up, and here comes the push down the red hallway as well from Creators. He's going to try and apply that pressure directly. Hole's being held from above, and nice read! Creators will take down Chala. Oh boy, what a shot. It looks like Creators is looking to upset that community poll.
Creators is absolutely feeling it right now, and he's picked away at 2 more important pieces of TSM's arsenal. XSET is shaping up now to try and push into the bomb site at some point, because they felt like they had the upper hand, but unfortunate for them, Creators, 2 kills is all he's going to get. He's going to sit out the rest of this round. Bolo finds the kill, but then immediately traded off by Thomas on white stairs. XSET, if they continue to trade down these numbers, they're going to come out on top. Have they droned out down below? The answer, no. Merc answers it very quickly and puts his team in a better position than it was just a couple seconds ago. But Merc also no information, so he flies blind to the top of white and gets punished by Drip for it, who once again just rushes right in. This is just a calamity between these teams. Nobody seems to have any information. The one thing Geo does have, though, it's Diffuser down at the top of white stairs.
This is actually good for Geo. He's in a very easily clutched situation, but as Filthy crosses on inner bar, he's actually switched the roles. Look at that. Geo from Piano landing a nice headshot onto Butters. Now in the 1v1, Filthy has yet to get his first kill. Geo's sitting on 4, and the Alda is definitely not going to be easy to deal with here. A reloaded one as well. 20 seconds left. Filthy has to go for a plant, and he's doing so inside of Cocktail on the right side. Geo knows it. Whether it's through info or sound, it doesn't matter. He's got it, and there it is. The clutch from Geometrics. A triple kill in the round, and that's 3 rounds in a row for TSM.
That's a heartbreaker for XSET and a heartbreaker for their fans, and you can see that the team is not particularly happy about this one. Never a good thing when you're finger pointing after a round. Things were shaping up quite well for XSET, and both teams, after getting a kill, tried to reposition themselves, and every time they did, they got caught for it. Punished for that lack of intel, punished for that lack of awareness. And I mean, with XSET taking the very first 2 picks, and you can thank creators for that, every single trade from that point on is going to dramatically help XSET, because they trade down, they've still got 2 bodies up to the 0 for TSM. Problem is that there was still intel, and good intel for Geo to play off of. And after he repositioned, XSET's inability on that upside down rappel by the Cocktail bomb site to pick off Geo ended up being the reason for Geo to pivot towards White Stairs, take out Drip, and then retreat. And by retreating, he was able to buy time, and there was either a default cam up or possibly even an Evil Eye cam. I'm not entirely sure which one was providing the intel, but you can see there were both yellow pings and red pings giving him intel. The Alda is a ferocious gun. If you have intel and information to go with it, in the right hands, that thing is going to mow down an entire team. We saw that in the very first play day. We just saw it now as well with Geo. And TSM read the final 30 seconds of that round perfectly.
For me, the throw in that last round on XSET's side started with Drip's repel into White. It was just a little bit too ahead of his team, and there was a lot of time left. There was like no call for that. Maybe it was a mistake. I'm not really sure. Sometimes you can fat finger the spacebar when you're on repel on windows like that. Whatever the case be, what we do know for sure is that XSET allowed too many 1v1s in that clutch situation. Moving on to this round, it's going to be once again a reading defense for TSM. They have had the trifecta, the full cycle, the 3-0 on defense. That is a really good sign for TSM's run long-term in this map. They're going to be going to their starter site once again. Now, technically, they did lose this, although that round was nullified by the admin call. So there's a chance here for XSET. And I want to point out another thing. XSET has been getting the initial kill every single round. Like, they're getting these early picks. So I want to say, as long as TSM doesn't give away an early pick, that this should be a lot more one-sided in their favor.
It really is remarkable. And I mean, this also went back to our very first map, if I can refer to it. Disrupt and Space Station were very close until the bitter end. SSG was walloping them when it came to opening picks, but it didn't amount to anything because DG was able to keep it close. It's looking, at least through these 3 rounds, that TSM's performance was more of a fluke the other day than it was just simply them being a bad team. And I don't know what XSET is trying to do, by the way, but all of a sudden, Bolo, Butters, Creators, and now Merc have all lost a huge amount of their HP in what was just an absolute frag fest. And the only kill that comes out is Geo onto Thomas, who wasn't even somebody who'd been damaged in that ensuing fray. So with that, finally, TSM, as we're talking about it, get that opening pick.
Down goes that bulletproof camera, and Drip pushing down inner bar. He's going to get a nice shot on a Merc, silencing him for the round. And
that's a beauty.
Evened man count now as well, which makes things a lot better for XSET. But look at this. Geo's still above, and they still have info. Achieved is going to get a C4 vertically off of what is likely a Valkyrie cam. Things get even worse for XSET, especially considering they haven't cleared out Cocktail yet. Achieved another one from below, and to add insult to injury, Geo will pick up Drip, leaving just Filthy by Whitehall. He's got 40 seconds, but that's just about all he has going for him right now.
Not only are there Valk cams, there's also a bulletproof camera up there from Geo, which is on the hard wall that it looks like they were finally able to get rid of on XSET's side, but Filthy's position is known, and because of the setup from TSM, back bar is undoable. You're not going to go anywhere. You're going to have to cross a dangerous spot, and TSM's opened up most of that floor. What a dominating performance. And I got to say, that was the worst round that we've seen out of XSET so far. I have to ask now, through 2 separate rounds, not connected, but through 2 separate rounds, XSET seemed completely oblivious to the fact that TSM is investing so heavily on that top floor. I'm aware that there's a mute on the board, but are mute jammers the sole reason why XSET seemingly cannot locate the TSM members above? Or is there something greater going on for XSET with their communication and their droning just simply not hitting the mark?
Yeah, I mean, from what I'm seeing so far, it's looking pretty rough for XSET. I talked about it earlier. I'll repeat it now. I do think that the mental is the biggest issue for XSET so far. They're a new team with a lot of young players that have a lot to prove, and I think I'm worried that they're letting that get to them. They just need to remind themselves that it's okay to make mistakes, and you can correct from them. Now, we are in the midst of a tactical timeout, and you can see the coach there, Brycer, trying to correct those mistakes, trying to give out the new game plan for XSET so that they can hopefully mount a recovery mission here. They need these last 2 rounds on the attacking half. Usually, you see the tertiary bomb site go the way of the attackers on Cafe. But that's not the case here. We've got 4 rounds in a row for TSM. Now, these last 2 rounds in the first half are a must-win for XSET, or things get really dangerous.
TSM hasn't really needed to struggle for 2 of these 4 rounds. Now, I mean, obviously they haven't had everything break in their favor, but overall TSM has been, I wouldn't even say really breaking a sweat on a lot of these rounds. It's tough because you've got XSET right now with Creators breaking in, he picks up 2 kills. They largely end up being impactless because the rest of the roundup swings in TSM's favor. Drip gets 2 remarkably good kills as well, but they're also largely impactless. Butters and Filthy have yet to find the scoreboard. I don't know if XSET are having an off day in terms of their setup. I don't know if they're having an off map. Maybe, like I said, maybe it's just that they're not the most comfortable on Cafe. I'm sure if you follow them on Twitter, they will talk about this in the post game about how comfortable they were here on this map. But it's also worth noting that not hitting your shots isn't just simply an individual problem. It can also be a team problem. If Filthy or Butters are getting droned in and they're not getting droned in properly, they're not being set up as best as they can be to capitalize and get those kills. So that's something else to keep in mind, and why we often talk about how KD is not necessarily the be-all end-all, because there's usually an explanation behind it, and a lot of times the explanation is a little bit deeper and not necessarily the fault of the person not getting the kills.
It's also, I mean, to do with this, just like the thoroughness of the execution. Like, for example, we still have those Valkyrie cams that have been a constant nuisance for XSET. Finally, after 4 rounds, they're bringing an IQ, but that's a little bit late, don't you think? Creators is calling a sound bug. I'm not sure what the admin's call is going to be on that. We are kind of deep into the round. I don't know. We'll find out, obviously. It's not our decision, so we'll see what happens here. XSET, though, best bet for them right now is to continue playing out the round. I don't think they have much of a choice currently. And the top floor execution is the priority. You've got Merc upstairs. He's trying to delay as long as he can, and he's already done a great job of that. As you see, we're hitting the last half of the round, and the attack has not even gotten through Cigar yet.
There's so much that they're going to need to go through here, and we're getting confirmation that there's going to be a technical pause after this. The previous round was a tactical timeout taken by XSET. Maybe it'll bear some fruit. We're not entirely certain just yet, but they're already down by 1. Filthy, still unable to find that scoreboard through 5 rounds. He's also knocked out. So the air jabs that can be quite crucial when a team goes to retake that kitchen bomb site, should TSM have somebody far enough off site, which they usually do, those aren't going to be available either. So not just a player down, but a crucial piece of utility that XSET won't have available.
Merc inside of Reading has been droned out, and now he's got 2 players to challenge, but he's going to be better than Butters in the heads up. Doesn't expect the second, so Drip is able to get the re, but that's not ideal when you're already a man down. So top 4 control, and guess who you have lost this time? It's the Sledge. Luckily, you've got 2 sets of breach charges in Thomas and Creator's pockets, and they're going to be able to work that vertical fairly well without the hammer.
There's 40 seconds left, plenty of time for XSET to make something happen here. But the issue is that TSM still has a fair bit of gunners in positions where XSET might not be aware of it. Now, if Chala doesn't hit those shots, they're in trouble. Thankfully, he does. Creators hits his on Nabolo, but still, it favors TSM in the final ensuing push here. There's no way for Creators to make it out of there without taking some more damage. Lucky for him, Achieve looks the wrong way. Creators getting softened up even more with Chala getting in on the action. So much damage from the Alda, and there looks like the down from Thomas leaves Creators with just 1 HP. He'll bring his teammate back from the dead, but Gio and Chala will be watching the freezer quite intently, and the only way out is the window because they'll take some damage. Creators tries his best, but TSM locks them out. 5-0 for TSM so far, 1 round away from the perfect half.
Beautiful plays there from TSM, and things are starting to shape up to be a pretty definitive result. And I'm not seeing a lot of encouraging faces on the side of XSET. We'll have a technical pause here just to see
on old strategies, going back to old haunts to try and make it work? Not sure.
I'm not sure either. What we do know right now is that XSET are going to get a... Oh, he missed. Thomas missed. He was going to get a C4 kill from below, but he missed, unfortunately. And now TSM still have 5 men up, and they know there's one below.
Well, a lot of damage done to creators on that one. Merc as well, losing about half of his HP. We're just past the halfway point here in round number 7. And as you can tell from the scoreboard at the top, TSM had a great first half. And you're hoping for XSET that it doesn't repeat itself or carry on over. They do have the favored side at the moment, at least if this match is any indication. Still a discovery work from TSM as they set themselves up for the final push now with a minute to go.
Well, TSM are in a decent enough position as well. It's actually getting better as Thomas is going to eat a lot of damage from that nade. Down goes Chala, so the first kill for XSET. That bodes well, at least for the defense. Maybe this is going to be XSET's first round, but they've been getting the lead-off pick on most rounds. So it's possible it won't matter on defense just as much as it didn't matter on attack. Only time will tell.
Playing around that deployable shield, this is the calm before the storm as every single gun from TSM is poised and ready. XSET the same. Damage done to Merc, and Craters finds another pick for XSET. Well done for them. Achieved is now in the next line of fire, and Craters has not been shoved off of this spot here in Washroom, guarding the doorway to Cigar quite intently. Filthy as backup. Damage done to his foot. Drip gets punished for that, and now nobody has any control at all over Piano. Great shot from Butters. Achieved one of his own. They're fighting somebody who's not there. Diffuser gets planted by Geo as nobody was paying attention to it, and now it's a 2v3 for TSM in the post plant. A 2v2 as Filthy is dropped, and Geo hunting yet another over by Cocktail, over on top of what's called Heaven. For him, he's hoping to wish them all to hell. Geo finished off, so Achieved now in a 1v3. Butters going on the defuse. Great shot from Achieved. The patience is there. Creators, he's only an inch away, but he's got some cover. Up pushing is none other than Achieved, and Creators will have to fall off. This is going to be a tussle. Dupro's fake! Oh! Achieved! What a remarkable clutch! And a 7-0 is just what the doctor ordered for TSM. Not a single round for XSET that time. Cafe is in the books for TSM.
Beautiful shots from Achieved to lock that one out. He played that post plant perfectly, and TSM have come back stronger than ever, it seems, proving the doubters wrong.